Welcome everybody to today's sit down. As you can see, we are not in our normal studio because we've got an extraordinary guest that has allowed us the opportunity and granted us the gift to come and visit him in his beautiful estate. The young man next to me has a formidable CV. I'm going to dive into some of the services that he provides and some of the experiences and the specialities that they like to go and dive into and help the public with. Now, the young man next to me is a sole proprietor of a specialized security service with over 35 years of experience. He works in support and together with SAPS, as well as all other safety authorities, passionate about the fight against crime, particularly against women and animals, as well as children. Known for his efforts in curbing gang violence and drug-related crimes, his Christian principles guide his life and business choices. His organization has come to be known as the end of the line organizations. Where other authorities and persons could not help, they have been successful with investigations and rehabilitations. Some of his services include cybercrime, fraud, serious violent crimes, serious economic crimes, rehabilitation, private investigation of civil and criminal cases, debt collection, police support, private protection and bodyguard services, private security and guarding services rather. It is my absolute honor to welcome to the sit down today, Mr. Mike Bolhuis. Welcome to our show, sir.
Thank you. The nicest thing to hear is that I'm a young man.
Yes, sir, you are. You
Thanks.
are. I must compliment you on, inviting us to your beautiful estate. I have been absolutely mesmerized with the meticulous amount of detail in everything that you do. It's not only when we got in, your team has been so friendly, everybody has been so welcoming. It is unbelievable. Thank you very much, sir.
It's only a pleasure, and it takes nothing to be nice.
Yes, sir. I fully agree. My favorite question, and the one I love to kick my interviews off with, is if we could magically, just a couple, 5, 8 years ago, snap our fingers and you're 17 again, sir. It's not so long. If that 17-year-old version of Mr. Mike Bolhuis walks in, sits down on this chair, can we process what are you thinking about? What is important to you at that stage of your life? What are the top 3 things that you are focused on as a young man?
At 17, I'm about to finish school. I was 16, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I was 16 in matric. And at that stage, I was considering, after a specific incident that I was involved with, to reach out to become the best of the best in specific fields, either the police or in the army. I then a few months later made the decision to join the army, and there I tried to reach, always in an attitude to be the best of the best. So I qualified for the Parabats, and I fully qualified, and I was 2 years involved with the Parabats, and afterwards involved in certain camps that we had to do, but I wanted to do them also for 2 years. But at 17, I was on this farm, and we were still quite poor, and we didn't have a lot of opportunities. So your mindset was more to just finish school, stick to the rules and regulations. I have a very strict father and mother. We are a lot of children, and just do our chores and stick to the rules and regulations on the farm. And I don't need to say stay out of trouble. We didn't cause any trouble then, or were involved in any trouble, but you were focusing on on very few things. So, and there wasn't crime then. We're looking at 1977, 78, I think. There was no such thing as burglar bars or murders or anything like that. So your mindset was just on your day-to-day family living, chores, going to school, and those responsibilities.
I pick up in what you said, strict parents, so very
Very.
strong values and principles.
Very.
That's why everything is systematic. Could I comfortably say that came from the upbringing? That was, you do things, this is the right way, don't deviate. This is how we do things.
Upbringing plays a very big role in a young person's life.
Agreed.
But you are born in a certain way. And it's evident you're either born an athlete or not. You're either born a genius or not. And you're either born with certain skills. That is how God created us. It's interesting to note, I have a great love, as you said, for nature and I have an array of flowers. And I have flowers at the back there, which comes out in this season in their thousands.
Wow.
Not one of those flowers, not one, ever, even from the same small flower plant, is the same as the other flower. I have another kind of, it's actually a kind of a bossy that has a purple leaf with little dots on it. And there's thousands of them here at the back. Not one of those leaves, dots, or look the same as any of the others. So God is the same with humans. And in my case, I think I was born with specific qualities. I can do this work. I don't get emotional. I am an interferer. I'm very neat. I don't like dirt, but if I have to be dirty, I can switch my mind to be, like in the army. At a stage we were for many months on the border, and we were without, well, not totally, but many a times without food and water and any form of ability to clean yourself. So it's a mindset. I have that ability to switch my mind to things. I can also deal with the worst of the worst cases and walk out and immediately go and do gardening or have a conversation with my family or do something totally and absolutely differently. And I'm very perfectionistic. You have seen when we started, I created a bit of a better view for the camera. I do those things. If something is skew, when I left earlier on, I saw one of those big iron heads were askew at the wall, and I change it. So I'm very meticulous with that. I'm also very anal. I'm very serious about cleanliness and neat. I have a very big problem with dirty hands. You will never see me with dirty hands or dirty in any way. I like perfume. I'm a perfume freak.
Okay.
And I like a good watch. So there's certain things that I really like, and that's enough for me. But it doesn't mean if I don't have it, that it would influence me. I'm a person that can go without. You can put me naked on an island, and I have no problem being alone or naked there. So I have a very strong mind, which does not control me. I control it. And I think it's also definitely because I'm a Christian and I believe in God and I'm cut out for this work. Not everybody can be mechanics. Not everybody can be policemen. That explains to me that everybody has a specific task, calling, and they should adhere to it.
Absolutely agree. And on your point, sir, about being meticulous about everything, it's to the point where, things on this table, were moved, some of them were moved 30 centimeters, some were moved half a centimeter to be positioned in the right way. And I think...
Actually, this is wrong.
Okay.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
That should be exactly in the middle.
Got you.
So I would do that. But
there we go. Exactly what I made a point on now.
Yeah.
So I know that is part of your incredible success, because you will leave no detail, no rock unturned until you find whatever it is that you're looking for. So 17, very good, strong values and principles, strict upbringing. You are obviously a hyper competitor. There is nothing that you go into with the mindset of I'm winning this, whatever I go into.
You are wrong there. I'm not competitive.
No? Okay.
I am realistic to all my surroundings.
Okay.
But I would not run another company down.
Okay.
Or try and take its work or influence it in any other way but good.
Okay, got you. So
I'm
maybe
an original, I'm not a copy, so I don't fear any form of competition. And if there's another original about, I would rather reach out and work together.
Okay, got you.
But if the level of performance, the credo level, what we stand for, and our agenda is not met, I would very clearly state it, and we'll just move on. I am not competitive at all in any sense with anybody, because we see, and me and my team, we see ourselves as a unique organization, rather setting an example and a standard that should be upheld by every and any citizen in this country, and that is, you identify crime, you absolutely evaluate it, you do the absolute risk analysis, you investigate crime, and then you prevent it. That is the highest level. There's nothing more above that.
Got you.
And since we're in the safety and security industry for all these years, that is the level that every safety and security officer, whether it's a government officer, police officer, or in any other field, should upheld and to that level. So to us, and in any situation, there's no such as competition. Where I do have a competitive nature is in exercise.
Okay.
I would not like it if somebody can do things better and more than me, but it's not ugly. I would try and reach that. I'm a very serious exerciser. I have my own gym and I do CrossFit.
Okay.
And I prefer not to hear of anybody being better than me. I know that is.
I knew it was somewhere there, sir. I knew it. I could see it.
I know
that's where it is.
many, especially youngsters. But at 62, going 63, I don't think there is anybody that can do a proper program with me in the gym.
Beautiful. Love it.
But I don't have a competitive spirit towards anybody.
The business.
Any scenario I find myself in, my attitude is, how can I help? Not what you can do for me.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Thank you very much, sir. And if you don't mind, I want to dive into, how does the river of life take you from qualifying and being in the Parabats into, choosing a career that you have been so successful in? How does that transition occur? Is it I identify a need right here and I go and solve for the need, or does it happen by chance? If you don't mind, maybe diving into some of the stories.
My family, because they are Dutch, and because we have a Dutch surname, obviously, it was in those years frowned upon.
Frowned upon.
It was frowned upon. So if you were from another country in the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, by the 80s it changed, you were seen as illegal immigrants, actually,
Wow.
as they are seen today. And you were made fun of, and you were isolated, and it was very difficult to become part of anything. You would be on your own in church, you would be you're on your own in your community. We stayed here, we grew up here, and you would not have a very friendly, accommodative relationship with everybody around you. So we were quite isolated, and that had a serious effect on me and all my brothers. I'm the eldest. We were 9 kids. 4 died in quite an early stage, and 1 in 1998.
I'm sorry to hear, sir.
Thank you. So I had to live as the eldest brother. Me and my other brother, the second one, is the one that died. And even the other brothers that followed, we had to live with that rejection and those emotions. And but we obviously thought it was the norm, and we got used to that. But a specific incident in Matric happened where I saw that I actually do have the ability to arise totally above that, interfere and get something sorted, something quite serious, where girls were attacked in Sunnyside. And we as a Matric group were busy selling tickets for some fund or something, and nobody interfered. And all the real guys of the Matric group were there, or part of them, the real main oaks, and they did not interfere. And then me, isolated, interfered, and I actually physically beat 2 guys, so much so that it reached the newspapers the next day. I was actually called in by the headmaster, Fonnie van der Vyver, with a head boy, which was also there, which did not interfere, which also died a couple of years ago. And that incident amongst the children spread like wildfire. And I was suddenly seen and not rejected and drawn in and revered and respected because of my interference. And that's where that was the shift. That's where I made that decision where I earlier said, I'm going to reach for I can. Had that incident not happened, I still think I would have been where I was today, but on a later stage in my life. Another situation would have arisen to just take me out of that rut and say, look, man, you can. Well, first of all, you should. Secondly, you can. And you can make that difference. So actually from that moment on started interfering and setting myself up to be available. And after that soon, it was the army and all that. And after that was the nightclubs. And then I ran most of the nightclubs in Pretoria and some in Joburg. And from that, we got involved in safety and security.
I want to touch on your point that you mentioned earlier, sir. Every single flower in the thousands of flowers behind us is unique. And I agree with you. Your reputation was created that day because your calling presented itself and you rose up to the occasion and you handled what you were born to do. Hence the success over the 35-year career.
And by the grace of God, your parents come in with the upbringing where you realize that God does exist and you have to make a choice, and you realize where you come from, who you are, and you need to do about something where you're going. So I changed very quickly after that incident. Instead of being the follower, I became followed. Instead of being the one isolated, standing one side and not being recognized, I was recognized and I was drawn in. And I didn't boast about it. I found myself that I did not. I was happy about it. It gave me peace, but it gave me a realization that I do have a calling. I've got something to offer. And that's the thing that made me so happy. So I didn't boast about it and took advantage of it, et cetera, which unfortunately most people would maybe have done.
Agree.
But I realized that there's much more to a incident. There are thousands.
Yes.
So, yeah, it brought a very big change in my life and confidence, where I was extremely, not considering the meaning of confidence, but it was the norm. You there, they here. It changed completely. And I started, remember, I was a year younger than most guys in matric. I was 4 years old when I went to school.
Wow.
And the first 2 years was in the Catholic school. By 5, I spoke, as a little Dutch boy, English.
Incredible.
Literally like the British.
Wow.
Yeah. And I knew obviously the Our Father, and I knew everything. And then I went to the Laerskool, the Poort here, which is about 10 kilos away from here, behind me, where my Laat Lammetjie son of 12 is now a leader and going to standard 5.
Beautiful.
Grade 7 next year.
Beautiful.
So I went to that school. It just opened. I think that school opened in the late 50s, beginning. No. It was in the late 50s, yeah, or beginning 60s. So the Laerskool, die Poort, still exists, and I every now and then go there, and believe it or not, there's every now and then a teacher that I still, or that recognize me because I'm in the media, would say that, look, you were at the school and I gave this and this to you when you were there.
There's a sense of pride.
Yeah. So I had a very, very, very good junior year school, but also with exactly the same scenario as in the high school. You were isolated, you were frowned upon, and we were very, very poor. I mean, we were the ones that lived by the charity of others, food and clothing, for many years. That also had a very serious effect on us, but not negative. This has made me absolutely see the worth of water, of essential things in life, as well as the extras that you have. I was that in the army. The guys who was with me in the army realized that I wouldn't even leave a little packet of sugar behind. I would put it in my equipment and take it with. I would actually pick up any of the packets or food of the rations that were discarded. I would go and fetch it and get it. And I would bring back from the border excursions. I would bring back, it's called a balsak. I would bring 2-3 of them back, filled with it. And when I came back, I would take them from Bloemfontein back to this farm here, and I would give it to my mother, and my mother would then dish it out to the poor. This I actually have never ever admitted it, but this is how I lived. And we had a Parabat reunion of our C company, 79 C company, 2 days ago. And what was interesting, one of the lieutenants came to me and he said to me that because I practiced my principles, my Christian principles there as well, he said to me that at a stage we were on an operation in Uapua. And he remembered that I prayed specifically for water because we were about to get into extreme trouble, physical trouble without water. And he said to me, and it is actually unbelievable if you hear it, but it is true because he would not lie. He said to me that out of nowhere where it wasn't identified on any of the charts, there was a fountain that we walked into or onto. And it was there with clear water. It was absolutely it was there. It's like it started. and we got water. I actually, before he said that, I said to him, "Oh, is that the time when we were close to the Kunene and then we went to the Kunene River?" And he said, "No, Mike, this is what happened." So that just shows you that God has all along in my life has identified him here and there, actually many times with miraculous saving graces. And this comes out now 40 years later. 3 years later. This is, and I've heard quite a few testimonies of several of the parabats of late, just before they die or when they have died, it would come up. So in my army years, and even in my school years, I've always had a relationship with God, which my parents at that stage in my young life would require of me. It was forcefully required. But at a stage, it wasn't necessary anymore. It was a choice. I would have wanted that without them telling me, you have to go to church, or you don't do this or don't do that. I realized that your Creator is, after all, the only and the most important thing in your life. And if that is the case, everything else will fall in place and will fall in the categories of importance, and you'll be able to deal with it.
Amazing. Thank you. I think for everybody, just as this is not a golden nugget. This is a golden brick that, Mr. Mike threw at us. Just rewind 5 minutes and rewatch the last 5 minutes of this episode. It's absolutely amazing what you said. And I'm a person of faith as well. And I know God uses us sometimes to touch people's lives and maybe teach them a lesson or improve a certain situation. And as you said, it was never marked. That water, the fountain was never marked. And because you prayed about it, there's nothing as powerful as faith.
What is interesting is that many a times when I hear these things, in 43 years or 42 years, I've never contemplated it. It wasn't in my brain. It was just suddenly presented to me. And it had a ringing sound of truth to it. Ping, it was so clear.
Powerful.
And it is such a testimony, not necessarily to him, because this has been in this lieutenant's brain all along.
And not in yours, because this is normal for you.
So it is, I fed from that, and it's just those. And I can't say, well, I would have never thought that, or this is not possible, or I wouldn't anticipate that. I do anticipate that, and I would think of it if I hear of it. And I will contemplate it now that I've heard it. But if suddenly something comes in your life, in all these cases on a daily basis, where God is so good to us. And remember, those watching might say, yeah, Mike, you guys are extremely violent, extremely dangerous, feared. And we've heard so many stories, and, there's so many of this and the other. Let me first say the following. Number one, Suid-Afrika se nommer 1 sport is maar skinder en kakpraat. So,
I agree.
There's no bigger sport in South Africa as that.
If you don't mind, I'm going to use this for the rest of my life, because that's so true, sir.
Suid-Afrika se heel eerste en nommer 1 tydsverdryf in sport is skinder en kakpraat. Number 2, when you, as well known as us, especially in a field of the kind of work we do as specialist investigators into serious violent and serious economic crimes, it is very difficult for people to understand that you're a Christian, you've got a Bible in the one arm and a gun in the other. It's difficult. But I can make it very easy for you. If you read your Bible from front to back, you will see the most incredible soldiers, kings, the most dangerous people has been described in the Bible. I mean, there's one guy that picked up the jaw of a donkey or an easel, and he killed something like 800 or 900 people. There were soldiers there of David that carried swords that are heavier than a small child that would swing those swords. You try that. Get a 10 or 15 kilo dumbbell, and you just try swiping that left and right in a battle mode. So the Christian is not a sissy. The real Christian is somebody that can say what he mean and mean what he say. And the real Christian is somebody that knows he's the biggest sinner. And I'm saying it emphatically. There is no bigger sinner than me. Even if there's one sin or 1,000 sins in my life daily, I will still be the greatest sinner ever. And it's by the grace of God that He has saved me and that I will be one day with Him. So I'm the one that would walk outside and beat myself on the chest and beg God's forgiveness and ask Him to be gracious and merciful upon me. And then also I want to say to those who has difficulty wrapping their heads around this, we need to be a Jew amongst the Jews, or a Greek amongst the Greek, or a hell's angel amongst the hell's angels, or a gangster amongst the gangsters. You cannot catch a criminal unless you infiltrate. You cannot go to an extreme meeting with gangsters with just the Bible. God has given you a brain, you go with protection and you go with guns and weapons. You would be irresponsible if you don't. You cannot just go out running in the desert because you're an athlete without special shoes. Your feet will burn off.
Correct.
Your brain tells you you have equipment, you need equipment, and it's there to protect you. And your body is the temple of God. If I just go out oblivious and do not make use of what you need in safety and security services, I'm irresponsible towards this body and I can shorten my life. So before you react always in any time about a person or about what a person say, you need to take the full information in context. Otherwise you are committing the devil's algebra. You will add or subtract, and that's where Skinner and Cockprat comes in. The full context of our organization, the full context, and it's unique, the full context of me, Mike Bolhuis, needs to be taken in consideration. Yes, all the rumors and stories, but what do you do with it? You evaluate it. You identify it. You do a risk analysis. You do an investigation. And then you decide whether it's factual or true. Because information can be hearsay. Then it's in any way disinformation.
Yes.
Information can be assumptions. And we know that saying, and you must my bleep here, which is the mother of all fuck-ups.
Yes, agree.
It's disinformation. 3, you get factual information. Factual information you can prove by either forensics, by affidavits, by photographs, audios, videos, etc. It is factual. This phone is factual because you see it.
Yes.
But if I put it here and I say to you, I have a phone, you rely on the person giving the information's integrity, whether he's telling the truth, or you assume that everybody in South Africa has a phone. But the possibility is still there that there's no phone here. I left it in the house.
100%.
So people need to understand information, but they're lazy. They don't want to read the whole page. They just want to read the heading.
Yes.
They don't want to hear the whole story, and they don't want to hear the good news. This is what South Africans does, unfortunately. 2 South Africans have got 4 opinions and 5 churches.
Wow.
They just cannot fucking stand together about nothing.
Unfortunately.
So the problem that we have in South Africa is that. And because of that, they make informed decisions on half disinformation, assumptions, and hearsay information. And they would throw a guy like Mike Bolhuis out because they read a heading, they heard something. The South Africans so much like to hear the shit. They don't want to hear the good news.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear that you're a Christian. They don't want to hear that you love animals. They don't want to hear how 4 nice eagles or owls is bred out here, the beautiful flowers, They don't want to hear the nice stuff. They want to hear the blood and guts. They want to hear the worst about you. And unfortunately, that is a mindset and a spirit nowadays which has infiltrated into our biggest problem, social media, which has now become a cybercrime issue, where 90% of the information that you see, hear, or get on all the platforms, from Facebook to WhatsApp to whatever has been sent around on a digital or electronic device, you need to actually do a thorough vetting and evaluation before you can even just take it in. As a matter of fact, you should just delete, unless it's absolutely factual. With that said, any information that is spread or taken in or worked on that is not to the advantage of yourself, your neighbor, your family, your country, you don't spread or use. You are harming yourself then. You are harming your neighbor. You're harming your community. You're harming your country. So I have a very, very big problem. Our biggest issue of the last 2 years is identifying social media for what it really is. You know, I, as a father, has difficulty to get my 12-year-old son not to play Xbox. And if I tell you now, 99% people watching this would say, Mike, you're right. Our children are totally, absolutely digital heroin junkies.
Addicted, yeah.
They're junkies. They're internet trollers. They just cannot help themselves. They do nothing else than that. It is so bad that those children, even on the most beautiful farm like this, has lost the taste or the desire to just stand and look at those 130 flamingos, or, as I've said, the beautiful flowers, or walk on the farm, or it is incredible. And I admit it. This has crept into my young son's life. And it's also due to friends, because they all do it.
Everybody, and he picks it up at school.
And this social media and this spirit, this zeitgeist, affects a child. He becomes aggressive, he becomes obnoxious, disrespectful, and then there's always an attitude, and you always feel that you're constantly correcting him, and it becomes very, very serious.
A bit combative. Because now you're leading from a point of punishment rather than leadership.
Yeah, and you know, that's not an easy situation, and I deal with thousands of these cases. Most of my, well, if not the gross quantity of our cases, is cybercrime. I deal with families that just don't know how to deal with the kids anymore, and then they get involved with the wrong people, the wrong crowd, and then it's cigarettes. I'm talking about very young people. Then it's cigarettes, then it's marijuana or dacha, and then it's other drugs, and then it's gangsterism. And when they, in 5-6 years, they formed cliques and gangs and syndicates. And the real value of life is not in God. God is just totally, absolutely pushed to the side. And it become this young person from the age of 8 even gets totally and absolutely maneuvered by social media.
Unreal.
That's our biggest problem, by the way.
It's so true.
In the world.
In the world. I agree. I just want to process the last 5 minutes of what you said. You know, I fully agree with you. South Africans, and I think social media, TikTok, you know, the 5-second process, it's just an overload of information that we get on our devices today. And it takes a wolf to catch a wolf. You know, in a situation like this, we're all calm, we're having coffee, we're having a nice discussion, we are having a beautiful day, we're enjoying the nature. As soon as there's a little bit of danger involved, I would like to be with a person that is Christian, that has great values and principles, and that comes from a place of, I'm a strong person and I will be the person to go and interfere. Now, that part, people, I believe, don't get, because they will isolate only the incident and say, XYZ did this, but lose the full context. XYZ did this because had he not, or had she not, this was going to be the impact. Those girls that were attacked, potentially they could land up in hospital, lose their lives, while the head boy and all the boykies from the A-team rugby just sat on the sideline. So processing that, being Christian and being a male is not about being soft, it's about being strong. I agree with you, because when the situation arises, you need to stand up and be an example and lead. On that point, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that message should be spread far and wide.
Well, let me tell you something that I should have added.
Please,
but
sir.
It's maybe good that I added now. Everything you've said and I've said up till now, I never say with blame.
Yes.
When that incident happened, I didn't afterwards thought to myself and snickered and said, what did they do? It never even came up to me.
It was your
and
calling.
Even till this day, I don't find myself in a situation where I say things to blame people. I actually understand why the South Africans of today find themselves where they are. They are in fear. They are not illiterate in the sense of the dangers of cybercrime, of social media. Who have warned you about social media?
No one.
It's us, our projects. Who have warned the kids about sextortion? Who have warned this country about SAPS impersonators, SAPS corrupt cops?
Right.
Who have warned this country about all the 911 scams and all of the scams, the sweetheart scams? Who have warned this country about all the serious violent crimes and all the serious economic crimes on a daily basis?
Doesn't come from mainstream media. It does
We
not.
don't blame that the others don't do it, but we just keep on doing it. When I was there at Sunnyside, I did not even consider, hey boys, let's go do this. I was just there. I saw nothing was happening. The girls were in danger. And I actually just went and did something.
You reacted.
Without considering, in my young 17 years, and this is where the protection of God came in, the harm that I could have inflicted further upon them or myself, being the interferer. But by the grace of God, I sorted them very quickly. So when I say these things, it is not to blame the parents, and it's not to blame you. It is a statement. It is a credo.
Gotcha.
It is a fact. If you feel that it's for you and you feel that it's a blame or that it is an attack, the problem is with you.
Yes, agree.
This is how we live. And I believe information is power. And when I give information, it's not to blame. Blame is something you take upon yourself. If you bump your coffee over, I can say to you, you have bumped your coffee over, you clean it up.
Yes.
That is a blame statement. You take the blame. There wouldn't even be a discrepancy about it. You wouldn't say, Mike, I didn't do it.
Of course.
So you must understand there's blame in blame. So it's not an attack. This is something that you would assume for yourself. You've done it. You've bumped the coffee over and you will clean it. It's the same in this scenario. So my message to the South Africans is that our Facebook and social media is being used and will always and has always been used, not to skinder and katpraat, but to prove the opposite, that it can do good. Anything God has created in any way, whether He has allowed us to create it, which He's still the author of,
yes,
or He has specifically created, you must understand Satan will use for evil.
Yeah.
So if something is given to us, or we were given the brains and the knowledge and the know-how to bring something to this world, social media's initial intent was to, students, let's just talk. Connect, get each other.
Yeah.
Quicker communications.
Yes.
It's much faster than sending a dove with a message.
Yes.
It was there to make the difference and get people closer. It has changed. It has changed today in the biggest crime field in the world, because every criminal uses it.
Yeah.
The day you catch a criminal without a phone, I will fly you to Mauritius for a 10-day holiday. The criminal uses this. What does he do with this? With this, he video, audios, everything, gathers information about you, etc., etc. With that said, this is the greatest love affair on earth. The greatest love affair is not the movies you have seen, or some couple you know, or you yourself and somebody. The greatest love affair on earth is between man and his cell phone. So if I have a cell phone, I have everything of a person.
Yeah.
Unless he practices our principles. If you lose your phone and you shit yourself, then you've had too much on your phone.
Yeah.
If there are several heaps of evidence lying in a room, and they say to me, Mike, you can only choose one, and there's forensic information, blood, there's documentation, and there's a witness, and there's a phone, I would say, away with all those. Give me the phone.
Even a witness.
In this phone is your saliva. It's DNA.
Yes.
On this phone is your fingerprints. In this phone is your girlfriend, your wife, your kids, what you believe, who you love, who you hate,
history,
your political affiliation,
yes,
where you were, what you've been involved with, your secrets, sometimes even your passwords, your gate, your bank, your banking details, your transactions. Why do you think kidnappings is so successful? Because they hack this.
They hack your phone.
The top and the biggest kidnapping syndicates goes for the phone of a very rich overseas businessman. Once they have this,
everything,
they have it all. Then they plan accordingly. So to you out there, be careful of social media. It is an absolute monster. It will totally and absolutely take hold of your life, and it will leave not 1% of you behind. And that means it takes you away from your family and friends and your freedom and all your information. It's actually information theft. And you are then, if your phone is taken or lost, in the hands of the criminals that will definitely abuse it.
Yeah. So can I ask you this question? Because I think it spiraled so out of control and so quickly because it's a new concept. You know, the concept of theft has been around for the longest time. You know, people will jump over, they'll take an item, they'll jump. We are almost accustomed to theft. Yeah. The concept of social media and connectivity is, I mean, this happened yesterday. And the vastness of the spread is what makes it so dangerous, because we haven't had the living experience for the past 50 years living with social media to have policies and good practices. I think that's part of the problem. Everything is new and everything is changing.
They know.
They know?
They know. But they can't help themselves. They cannot really say no. It's also like a druggie. You must remember.
Also true, sir.
You must remember, we do many, many rehabs of the worst druggie cases. They know it's wrong.
They know it's wrong.
They know there's no gun against their head.
You know you're exposed.
Use the heroin.
Yeah.
They sit here, or they sit at wherever we meet them. They know there's no gun against his head. It's a choice. Everybody knows. You just have to spend a couple of hours with social media and you will very quickly see what, where, when, and how. But it's lekker. It's lekker.
It's that instant.
Time flies. You sit there and do nothing, and you just can play any game. You can watch any porn. I haven't even touched the subject of porn. Yeah. Porn, sexual crimes. Porn, in my opinion, is a crime.
Yes.
It's second-rated sex. It is dangerous. It breaks marriages. It creates extreme wonder in wives, especially wives in marriages. No wife, in all honesty, would really be happy if they know their husband is involved in pornography.
Absolutely.
They prefer to have them married with their eyes as well and their minds. Because remember, a man's fantasy world is much bigger and elaborate and greater than that of a woman. A woman is much more touched by reality and the real things that happens during the day. Like sitting together, chit-chat a bit, flower, talk, how was your day, what, all of that.
Yes.
So sexual crimes in the world takes 13% of the last information that we've received of the world's economy. 13% of the world's economy goes on and lost into sexual crime. That could be
billions.
That's
trillions.
You can't count it.
You can't.
That is the sexual industry. That is the sex trafficking. That is pornography. That is sextortion. The sexual crimes, cyber crimes committed, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Prostitution. So if you take just how big and enormous that is, you can understand it's also the most dangerous profession in the world, where some of the most people are killed.
Wow.
Because it goes hand in hand with cigarettes. Cigarettes, which kills the most people in the world. You add that with all the drugs that's involved, and those that are killed because they're involved in drugs or because of drug use, or those who are in the sexual industry, prostitutes that are being killed. Most serial killers kills sexual deviants or sexual people or people in the sexual industry.
It's an easier target.
So if you look at, it's they serial killers that kills, like, you can check it out on these documentaries. It's brilliant. Why do they kill people in the sex industry that is different to the norm, or in the sex industry? Because they themselves has that very extreme problem with it, and they out themselves by taking them out, and in the meantime trying to console themselves, but they are also involved in it. And that hate, that love-hate situation makes that person, plus obviously, as you've seen in the Jeffrey Dahmer story, the upbringing,
yes,
and the effect that the mother's involvement with drugs and medicine had an effect on Jeffrey.
Yeah.
But if you look at all of them, the Green River Killer, all of them, they've killed hundreds of people. They killed prostitutes. They killed people that were involved in not the norm in the
yes, not the day-to-day type of industry.
And people that are different in their sexuality. So this whole social media thing is absolutely reliant, or other way around. This whole sex industry is absolutely reliant on social media. So the criminal relies on social media content. That's where you see this rich businessman with his Ferrari. That's where he sees all the gold and the bling. That's where he sees what work he does, how many businesses and how many holiday homes he has. So I want to warn the public that social media has become extremely, extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
It is like you walking around in town, if it is exposed, with your whole pedigree and your credo and your CV on your forehead. You're just begging to be attacked, kidnapped, or extorted.
Yeah. You know, I want to shock you with a perspective that someone gave me the other day. And when I heard it, I thought, wow, you know, it's so true. A 15-year-old boy today with a cell phone and an internet connection can see more naked women than the richest kings in their entire life. It is out of control.
And let me shock the people out there. The addiction on pornography is very difficult to break. And from that stems pedophilia, rapes, spiked drinks, rapes, date rapes, and all kinds of sexual crimes, and sometimes, as I've said, serial killers. Yeah. There is no good in it. Porn is fake. It is misrepresentation. Yeah. Your wife will never act like that stupid woman humping around and yelling and screaming and yelping in joy. It is action and action. You will never unsee it. Once you've been involved in pornography, it will take years for you to really get it out of your brain if you've been hooked in pornography, and it will affect your everyday's life. And you can, most of the time, then can't live without it. Yeah. That is the problem with anything that you take. It's the same with the dispirin. If it works and you then keep on using it. You will use 2 and then 3, and then you'll go to codeine, and from codeine you'll go to something stronger and stronger, and then eventually you use pethidine, which is the strongest, like heroin, addiction tablet there is, and then you're hooked. Once you're hooked on pethidine, you're on your way to death. So it's the same with cigarettes. It's the same with liquor. It's the same with social media. It's the same with pornography. It's the same with all these things. You were not created. Let me put it this way. Do you put diesel in a petrol engine?
Of course not.
Why the not?
Because it's not designed to work on diesel.
It will not drive 100 meters.
Yes, it will break. It's not designed to do that.
It's not designed. You were not created to be involved in any of these things.
You know, I want to share a story with a friend of mine. She's got a 17-year-old son, and she said to me, Bobs, the boy woke me up in the middle of the night, and he's a good kid. It's a stand-up family. Values and principles very high. I've known him since he was this big, and now he's your height. He's a big man, 17 years old. And you know, she said to me, woke me up, said, I've got a problem. I clicked on something. It was on social media. It led me to this, and then it led me to another one, and I am 50 clicks into it, you know, terrified. I need you to help me. And then what did we do? We deleted it. We cleaned the account. But you're right, you can't unsee it. But very few kids have that level of values and principles to actually seek help. I've got a problem. I shouldn't be looking at this, and then go and solve for that. Very few kids do, unfortunately.
Nuuskierigheid is die duiwel se oorkussing.
Wow.
Be very, very careful for being intrigued, and it is very, very dangerous, and it's very difficult to override curiosity.
Yeah, very.
What we say here today is not easy. It takes a willful power to put your foot down and say no. It's very, very difficult. It's much easier to say yes, or to say, well, you know, nobody's seeing me, let me just quickly look into it, so what? Because you think it's not a physical thing that harms you, like putting your hand on a hot plate. You think it's fine. Your ears, your mind, and your eyes can take it in.
It's actually
but
worse.
It's extremely damaging, because your mind is the computer on earth. There's nothing better, and it keeps everything. And it is more vivid than the best movie you've ever seen. And it's right there, just behind your eyes.
Yeah, accessible.
And what you see, especially is if it's extreme violence or pornography or anything that is extreme that you not actually should see or used to see, it is dangerous. And people must understand that. They must protect their eyes. But unfortunately, people are extremely curious. If there's an accident next to the road, the whole traffic gets to a halt. Why? Because the people pass by, they want to see the body limbs, they want to see the gore. If there's a heading in the newspaper, person decapitated, that's the newspaper they will buy. People want to see the worst movies, 2 to 21, 2 to 18. They want to see the boobs, they want to see the naked lives, they want to see the sexual scenes, they want to see the gore and extreme violence. Those are the movies and documentaries that are watched the most. Lion King will not be watched more than any of these documentaries or movies.
Yeah.
And Singing in the Rain, or any nice nature documentary, or Attenborough nature movie, or any of the stuff where there's no swear words in, where there's no violence, where there's no nakedness, and there's no extreme things in, get watched less and less and less. The shift has completely gone to, I want to see the bad stuff.
Yeah. Mr. Mike, you mentioned, you know, you've been through the nightclubs, and then obviously that took you through different turns, and ended up starting the business now of investigating crime and crime prevention. If you could say, going back to the time when you started your career, and the advice that you're going to share with us is going to be evergreen for any industry. I feel a man with your experience in life can add value into a you just did, into a 17-year-old girl, into a 70-year-old man, and everybody in between, even, younger people. What would you say is the one mindset that has kept you grounded, kept you very much in the middle from knowing what's right and wrong, and has led you on the right path all the time? What's the one mindset that you'll take back with you that, you wish you knew then, that you know now, that can help the people on this video?
So on a spiritual level, to me, that keeps me grounded is, even in the worst surroundings and the worst things I hear or see or experience, or that is in front of me or find myself in, is the absolute fact that I know that the Lord Jesus Christ, God Almighty, the only living true God of the Bible, does exist. He exists. And that I, by the grace of God, by choosing to follow Him, try to follow Him, and try to do what is asked of me, and live according to the rules and regulations and principles of the Creator. That credo is what keeps me grounded spiritually. When I wake up in the mornings, before I put my feet on the floor, I say what I've just said. I repeat that. I constantly think on God, of God, and how, secondly, that would affect my neighbor. So we don't do cases without praying. We don't do anything without considering God. And that makes it very, very difficult, because many of the cases we need to act violently. If we have to fetch somebody out of a drug hole, it is violent. If we have to act against criminals that are violently acting against other people, it is violent. So a lot of violence does happen in our organization, but to do good, in order to protect, to serve. We only choose to act violently after we've made an extreme informed decision, proper risk analysis, the whole scenario risk, the whole scenario evaluating, investigation, and then with prayer and supplication. Otherwise we don't do it. From an emotional point of view, I do not let emotions in any way affect my life. I am unfortunately not a very emotional person for the sake of so many people. They find me very unemotional, but it's due to the work that I do. It's not by choice. This is how I have been cut out. This is exactly who I am. I cannot, when there's a rape case presented to me and there's a woman here that has been extremely gang raped, an extreme situation, or children being molested, or whatever, break out in tears. How can I do the work if I myself find myself in the same emotional situation? So I do not have those emotions, and I do not allow them. But when I mean allow, because I do not have them, I would not allow them in an investigation. So if I find that an investigator, if I find that an investigator becomes emotional, I would take him off, and another one will work with it. So that's very, very difficult for the people to grasp and to understand. So I sometimes make the statement, and it must be understood as I say it. Myself as a specialist investigator and some of my members working for me, we are positive psychopath investigators.
Got you.
Because we have to, for the case of the extreme violent case, have to be the go-to guy, have to be seen as the go-to guy, have to be trusted as the go-to guy, without being affected by emotions and making emotional decisions. I cannot, when I see this case, lose my temper, grab the baseball bats, the guns, and go out and fuck up and kill a guy. You understand what I mean? I have to do all the And I do not have to. I do it. This is what I do. I've set this template.
It's your DNA.
It's
become
me.
this.
This is how I work.
Yes.
I've worked like that since I was young, actually, even in the nightclubs.
That is so hard. That's a gift you have, sir.
It's a gift. It's not something that you can say, I have to become that. You either have that ability.
I agree.
Or you don't have it.
I think there's a certain degree that you can learn, and
there is a certain degree, and it takes years,
yes.
and you need to get used to it. So yes. For instance, many a policeman that's involved with this, the first time when they see a dead person might vomit. And the second time it might get better. And then later they're used to dead bodies and they don't vomit anymore. So it's like that. It can grow, and it can grow stronger and better to a place where, as I practice it all these years. But it is a person that is cut out for this. So on an emotional level, because I am like this, I don't become emotional. I don't have a situation where Christmas is a different day to me than working or to any other day. I am a nice flatliner. I am always happy. I'm always upset about crime.
Yes.
I am always considerate about the poor, the needy. I have all these things at the same time.
Amazing.
And it does not change my heart rate, the way I eat or exercise or how I sleep. My mind works like when I hit the cushion, I sleep.
That's what I'm here to do.
It's not something that where I lie and then all these things still goes through my mind. It's a switch. When I am finished with you, I am discussing with two of my investigators and the police there a very serious case. That switch goes on, and that's what I will deal with. After that, I will do this or that and the other. So it's all in compartments. But I am not like, well, today I'm here and the next I'm there. I don't have a down or a up mood. I have a fantastic mood all the time.
Can I say what you have, sir, please?
What do I have?
You have a gift.
Because
it's so difficult. I mean, we run a company as well.
By the grace of God, I have that gift.
Yes, sir.
If it is a gift, I cannot really say I see it as a gift. I have not. And we don't, I have been asked this before and it has been discussed before, but it's not something that I contemplate to try and seek an answer. It is something that I'm just happy with. And actually, it is something that I would consider that every person actually should be more or less like in their scenario where they find themselves.
I agree, because
if you're a lawyer, this is how you should be.
Lawyer,
if you're a nurse, this is how you should be. Yeah. If you're a housewife, this is how you should be. But I know it's not the case. People are influenced by their surroundings.
Yes.
So I don't get influenced by surroundings. But it does not mean I'm not happy when it rains. I will compliment it. And that I am not unhappy when it doesn't rain. I will mention it. But it doesn't affect me. It has no effect on my emotions. And I must say, my family during all the years has always difficulty in really grasping that. Because I don't mind sitting in a conversation on my own, just listening and not reacting. And that makes people very awkward.
It does.
Especially amongst family members.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mind waiting 30 seconds to a minute.
To answer.
That
silence.
I don't mind looking at somebody in a group for longer than 30 seconds without saying anything or asking something. It makes people uncomfortable. And my wife would then say to me, Mike, when we go there, then please avoid
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, and 4.
Beautiful.
But I can adapt. So I do. But we actually never go out. I don't have friends. I have people that I work with that I'm quite close with, but it's all on a choice basis. I don't miss people. I don't have friends. I don't braai. I don't do the braai. I don't do, we're going to go and watch rugby there as a group of men. I don't do the men thing, the woman thing. I don't do any of that. Nothing of it. The moment I have some spare time, I work in the garden.
That's your
I
place.
don't move from here unless I have to. I don't move. I don't invite people. I used to invite 3 years ago before COVID. Every year function, but it's just people that works for me. And then we would have a great time here, but that's it. But I'm not a socialite. I don't like socializing. I don't like groups. I don't like going out, eating out, nothing. I have it all here. I'm absolutely, completely satisfied and contained
In your environment.
here. I like being alone. I have no problem with it. I prefer being alone. I prefer my family above any other people. I think I'm a difficult person.
I think you know who you are. It's not about being difficult. You are true to
and
yourself.
I have no problem with whom I am, but people frown upon this, and this is just a very small group. This is news to the public probably. But I don't do this deliberate. This is how I am. Klaar.
That's how you're wired.
I have ways how I talk over the phone. I have ways how I communicate. I just do things as I am. However, I would consider if something is to be changed, I will change. I will, for instance, practice the Bible principle. I will, for instance, practice the Bible principle that if it would put you off, if I were to do something, I would avoid doing that.
Okay.
So when I do talks, I always ask them, the way I talk has strong language. In my opinion, the word fuck is not a swear word. It's a descriptive word.
Yes.
You cannot.
It's an adjective.
It's words that in my work, as we work, if you were to take it out, it takes out the severity of your statement.
Agree.
If I were to have a druggie here, which me and you are interviewing, which is your son, and he keeps on butting in, and I say to him, oh, please, my boy, me and your dad are talking now. Would you please be quiet? It would not work.
No.
But if he butts in and I say to him, you shut the fuck up,
there's impact.
He will stop, because it will say everything of exactly in one word who we are, and what we stand for.
Yes.
Which you have never done as a father.
Yes.
And he will then not butt in. But if he does, I'll be the one walking around and swatting him. I have a very big problem with children that disrespects their parents. But anyway, that's an example. So there's a way we talk, but if that puts somebody off, then I can go without.
Okay.
But when we deal with the work that we do, you can take none, especially in Afrikaans, you can take none of those words out. They will the criminals will actually wonder what the fuck has happened to you. They will not listen to you.
That sense of respect is not going to be...
Mike, what the fuck gaan on? It would be hilarious.
It's not going to be you. It's going to be an impersonator.
Yeah. Anyway.
I am particularly proud of the fact that I've made you laugh, sir. Thank you very much. I'm forever going to cherish this moment.
I have
Mr.
a very,
Bolhuis.
I have a very, when I sometimes, well, most of the time, when I say things, it is a picture.
Yes.
And when we're doing this series now for Mnet, and sometimes the producer would just say something that nobody would laugh at all.
And you will picture that.
But he has said something where we were shooting the intro about the way a specific person would walk that is totally different to the way I walk. And I saw that, and it took us half an hour to get me out of that laugh. The crew had to go out, everybody. They just had to stand outside, and I had to start thinking, And that's just a glitch, it seems like, at my age now. Sometimes it just sticks with me. And I had to get this out of my mind. To me, it was that funny. And now this is what happened here.
Mr. Mike, it takes a village to raise a man. It takes a big village to raise an incredible man like you.
Thanks.
If you were to say, perhaps, the 2 or 3 people that influenced you in your life through your journey and your career, maybe it's a situation, maybe it's a person, who would that be, and how did they course correct you during your journey, sir?
There's no person that has influenced me, but I have checked out all human beings. And out of that, I always make a factual decision after taking in consideration all the hearsay information, the stories, assumptions, and the factual information, but not necessarily in order to enhance my life or to be like him. I don't do that. You'll never hear me say, I want to be like that, or I wish I was like that. I don't have that as well. I don't wish to be somebody else. I also don't wish to be somebody less. I am very, very happy by the grace of God with who and what I am. And I see it as respect towards God. If God is unhappy with me, that will break me. That will be the first time in my life that I would really be emotional, and I will totally give up. I would stop at the instant. So that as I always try out of my way to consider God in everything and consider His view of things, His Bible, what it says, and how I should be. So I have no person that I can say, oh, you know what, I wish I had some of that, or I wish, you know, I have had different ears, or I wish I was taller or shorter, or I wish that and the other. I exercise extremely, so I look after my body, so I have no problem with my body. That's the physical thing.
Yes.
The third thing that I wanted to say, on the physical point of view, I strongly believe that you should look after your body.
Agree.
Very, very much. You must eat well, good, and care for your body. If you don't, then that's the engine that's going to stop. So there's also not a situation that has made me or changed me in any way. There are situations that has happened in life that has enlightened me.
Okay.
Yeah, like the situation with the girls that were beaten at Sunny Park. It is something that happened, and then there's a realization, but not like I'm blaming others or anything else. It's like a step. It's a growing step. So everything that happens in my life, I see as growth. Any case that I get, I usually know everything about it, but you can always grow. And in the same sentence, I've never seen myself as arrived. I don't see myself absolutely honestly stating, which I don't like to use because I always reprimand people when they say to me, maar laat ek nou met jou eerlik wees. What does that mean? Is that person now eerlik?
What happened?
Is he now as well? What about yesterday or before, or is it only in this case? So I don't like using that word, but let me tell you, for a change, honestly, I don't see myself better as you, as him, or as her, or as anybody of my workers here. I don't look at people as being better of them. I see myself as somebody that can offer them something that can better their lives.
Beautiful.
It's their decision whether they want to uplift themselves, or my decision where I want to lift down myself. Those decisions we make, and you only make that with information and example. You have to live the example life.
Yes.
I cannot force you to believe in God. I can give you the facts.
Yes.
But if I live a different lifestyle, unfortunately, you're going to have your eye on me, and you're going to say, that's a Christian. I don't want to be a Christian, but I want to tell all of you out there, you never make a decision because of a person. You make a decision about the information of the person, and that is God. You cannot because this person has brought you the gospel, say, yes, it's all true, it's all factual, and that person goes out drinking and whoring and committing all the sins, then say, because of all the factual information of the person that was spoken of, which is God, you're not going to believe in God because this guy is not living the life that he's presented to you the gospel to.
That's true.
To you. You don't make that stupid decision of the factual information that people are bringing you about God, and because their lives aren't in line with that factual information, that you're not going to believe in God.
Very true what you say.
It's very true. It's like if you don't like the maths teacher, if you don't study maths, you're not going to make maths.
Yes. Irrelevant of the teacher.
If the other boys and girls aren't studying, now you're not going to study, you're not going to make maths. If you're not going to take the facts about eternal life seriously and God, you're not going to make it.
Mr. Mike, landmines. You have incredible experience in life. You have, I think there's almost nothing that you haven't seen throughout your career. If you could help us process this question of landmines as mistakes that you've seen people make, as people, as parents. We touched on social media. We touched on people, starting off with cigarettes or simple discipline and then leading it on to, we call it landmines. If you can perhaps share 3 or 4 big ones, then we want to plot those GPS coordinates and share with our audience. Listen, these are the mistakes that people made that led to a bigger problem. Because, like I said, asking you is an infinite amount of information because you've seen almost everything. What are the 3 or 4, 2 or 1 biggest landmines that you've seen people step into over and over and over again?
The biggest landmine will be social media.
Agree.
Advice there, I've explained it quite thoroughly, is to absolutely cut down and use social media for what it was intended to be. Nice, proper communications.
Connections.
Mother, how are you? Father, how are you? How's the kids?
Photos of the
Any
kids.
form of communication that doesn't put you, including photos or audio, in a compromising position. With that said, all information that you will unfortunately do get information, do not so easily just open or get involved. Do a thorough evaluation, do a thorough identification, do a thorough risk analysis, do a thorough investigation, vetting, and then make an informed decision and don't forward if it's fake news or in any way not assisting life, yourself, your neighbor, and everybody else. That is the biggest landmine there is, and that is the way to deal with it. If you do this alone, you cut down 50% of all trouble in your life.
Agree.
End of story. Second landmine is direct and personal communication involvement with people. Never just walk away from anybody. Always try and help people and try to assist. But if it doesn't work, walk away, because then they will influence you. Don't waste your time on people that don't want to be helped. Don't seek love in all the wrong places. Choose your relationships very, very carefully. But always go out and share your complete life with them in an information way in order to assist them, sustain them, better them, help them, stabilize them. But if it's not taken and it's not a change, move on to the next and the next and the next. That also obviously involves taking people in or moving away from people. You need to make informed decisions in the same way. Do a thorough investigation, do a thorough evaluation, do a thorough risk analysis, do a thorough vetting. You need to do that with everything. You do that when you open a bank account. You do that when you take out a policy. You do that when you buy a car. Why don't you do that with people? Why don't you do that with social media?
Amazing advice, sir.
But there is nothing. I do not buy this Klimt. This is a beautiful
Agree.
Klimt is the author, the artist here. When I saw this 20 years ago in a Checkers store, I told my wife, go back, ask the owner how many boxes there were. And he said there was 12 boxes. I sent my wife back with the money and said, buy them all. I've made an informed decision on something that I really like, that I would want, that I will be using for the rest of my life. I still have them all. Some of them have broken and we use them as mosaic. So you make informed decisions, and then you make informed actions, and you react upon that, and you accumulate that then. It's the same with people. But with people, there's the one extra thing in that is you must try and help people. And only when they really shove it back in your face and don't want to be helped, you go to the next and you take other people in. If that is done, it would have a very serious impact on crime as well.
Agree.
Where I'm staring at is that if you have the wrong relationship with social media, or the wrong, and you have the wrong relationship with people, this could lead to anything of the following. Let's start with the worst: murder, suicides, incredible wrong decisions financially, investing in the wrong places, buying wrong, marrying wrong.
That's a big one.
Divorce, broken family, children involved in all of the worst kinds of things. I can carry on. The list of things that grows from making in the beginning the wrong decisions on social media. If you take it worldwide, where it all starts, the biggest killer would be social media. It can steer you in all the wrong directions, which will make you all doing all the wrong moves, including committing a crime.
Yeah.
Because of the social media information, the kidnaps happen.
Yes.
Because of the social media information, the divorces happen.
No proper
suicides, overdoses amongst the kids in drugs. And amongst those kids, wrong marriages. Because in these two platforms, if we can call it platforms, landmines, everything that happens from there in your life starts here.
Yeah.
So it's like a hoodwink. If I give you a bow and arrow, and I put the nice round target up there 50 meters from here, and I tell you, aim at the bull, and I see you're going to hit the bull, and I just do this with the bow and arrow, just this. Look carefully, just this. Just that.
Off.
The difference here is what?
2-3 millimeters.
No. 1.
1 millimeter.
1. Where do you think the arrow goes?
Meters away from.
What is the distance then?
Yeah, huge.
So it's the same. Your whole life today in this modern world, how you handle social media will have an effect with you and all your children up ahead.
Yeah.
Your whole life with whom you involve yourself today will have a whole effect with everybody in your life up ahead. So if you do deal with those two landmines, if you can call it like that, and you deal with them on the basis of doing a thorough vetting, evaluation, investigation, risk analysis, and so forth, and then make informed decisions. Plus everything else that I've said here. The possibility of crime being committed or you being involved in crime in your life drops down to 90%.
Yeah, agree. You know, a while ago, I spoke to someone that, on your point there, explained it to me in a very similar way. And he used the word sequencing. So I said, really, sequencing? He said, yes, that's the most important part. I said, how so? So he said this. He said, if you take a girl, 17-year-old girl, the correct sequencing is finish high school, go and study, find a nice job, build a career. meet somebody that she falls in love with, get married, and then have children. The wrong sequencing
is the other way around.
17, meet the wrong person, already pregnant. You're doing move 7 at move 2. It can't have a positive
The wrong
effect.
sequence from the back
Yes, sir.
has such a devastating effect
Yes, sir.
that it makes all the other sequences fall away. And
100%.
only 2 runs that person's life.
The first one and the mistake.
The wrong people and social media.
The wrong people and social media. Absolutely.
That's it.
Couldn't agree
And
with you
then
more, sir.
everything else falls away because all your decisions will be based on those 2.
I've got an interesting question. I hope you've never been asked this. If you have, I'm going to ask it again.
Nothing frightens me. Go.
I can see that, sir. And being close to you, nothing frightens me at the moment as well, sir.
Thanks.
So if you could spend an entire day with someone, dead or alive, who would that person be? And what would you ask them?
I would have liked to spend a day with any and all that I know, just one day, that has died.
Okay.
Either to prevent their death in crime cases. 2, if it's a loved one, to say my last goodbyes. 3, if it's an unsaved one, to give them the gospel. 4, if it's a criminal, to try and steer them off that way and tell them they're going to die tomorrow. Choose life. So I have a very consciousness of the dead. Could I have done more? Could I have intervened? Could I have prevented? And could I have had a preventative or greater impact on that person? To me, death is a very, very serious thing because I deal with so many dead. And there's a very strange, unexplainable aura, attitude, feeling when you stand over or with a dead person or body. It is, you cannot, there's no words. It's not a word that can explain it. It is only something that you will understand once experienced.
Yes.
You cannot put that in a word and then you think to yourself, okay, I can fathom that, or I can process it and now identify it. You cannot. And that's the very first thing that comes to my mind when there's a dead person. I don't mind who it is. It can be a man that I pass next to the street that I found and the police are there. He just lies there in an accident. I have those thoughts of a dead person. And there are many dead people. So, but my brain can handle that. And it's a compartment in my brain that goes about. When a guy dies, and he is a Christian and I know he has lived a good life, he's fought the good fight, I'm not sad. Well, I'm not emotional. I am glad that he's crossed over. And I see in what I can try and fathom the peace, the serenity, and the heaven per se that he finds himself in. And I'm jealous of that.
Got you.
So, living, no. It would be second or third. But the dead, if I can have a day with all the people that I have been involved with that are dead, druggies, overdoses, suicides, murders, rapes, missing persons, all of those dead ones, one day. I would today be, if I have that in one day, or at those days in all the 50 or 60 years of my life, I would have been the biggest crime solver in the world.
You know, I've asked many people this question and I get answers from, I want to spend a day with Elon Musk. I want to see his time management, or this or that. What you just said, sir, serves to your core, which is to serve people.
Elon Musk. Every second word is Elon Musk.
That's it. But your core is you're a servant. You want to help. You want to assist. You want to add value. The most incredible answer I've ever received. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
If you could be a fly on the wall and you could overhear a conversation, what would you like to hear right now? What is...
The modern saying now is, if you could be a drone on the wall.
Yes.
Because you get a drone as the size of a fly.
A fly, that's true, yes.
So
sir.
what's the question?
What would you like to overhear? Who's in the room and who's speaking? And what is the conversation about? Something that interests you right now, sir.
Look, I always consider in an investigation what we would like. And obviously in there we would like to hear what they say, what they communicate. But we don't look at it like, you know, the drone on the wall or the fly on the wall. I look at it like we must get that.
Yes, you love the process.
Because at the end of the day, in any way, whatever has been said, it must be turned into that we can use and is factual.
Yes, and
if it's not, then it cannot be used.
Okay.
But if I were to answer that, to give you an answer, there once again would be cases, specific cases that I would have loved to have heard what has been said before their death.
Got you.
Rather again, in order to ascertain what really led to what and where, when and how. But my previous wish, I'd prefer, if you were to ask me with this one now, I would have incorporated into the first one where I said I would like to spend a day with everybody that I know that has died in order to do all those things.
And process those issues together.
And then I would ask the question.
Give feedback.
What has been said here, what has been said there. I would then obviously do a proper interview and find out and so forth. But I don't think of, oh, you know what, I wish I was in that room and I would have heard that. I unfortunately, for those who are watching, I don't think in that line.
Good. I'm glad, sir, because you love the process of investigating and solving for yourself based on facts, not on hearsay.
Look, ideally, we would like to have everything just here.
Not
because
possible.
Then we can jump and do the next and the next and the next.
Not possible.
So realistically speaking, it's not possible. But in maybe an idyllic world, it would have been idyllic to would have received a case, and then you would hear what everybody is thinking and saying. You would put it together. You'll do your crime identification. You do your complete evaluation. You do your complete investigation, and then you do the crime prevention.
Yes.
Because remember, all that information must put something in place that there's crime prevention.
Eventually, yes, sir.
And that's what we aim at.
So, last 3 questions, quick ones. First one, are you a car guy? Do you love automobiles? And what was your first car?
My first car was a Citroen.
Which one?
Cost me 400 Rand, small one. 400 Rand was my first car. And it did its work. It was wonderful. It lasted, and I used it for quite some time.
I can see a little smile thinking back of the memory of that.
Yeah, green. It was light green. But I'm not a car man. I've had some cars in my life that I kept for some time due to cases.
Okay.
And I would drive with them. I had the Zonda Pagani for about 6 months from Lolly Jackson. And I kept it here. I protected the car. And the owner has asked me to assist him with getting it legal. It was illegal in the country. So when Lolly died, we were involved, Lolly Jackson, in that investigation. And before, I knew Lolly Jackson for years, from when he started. So that car was here, and I had some months that I drove a bit with it. Very, very flat, very unique. I think there was only the one in South Africa, and I think there was only 250 ever built. And it's now worth, I think, 40 million.
Yes, agree.
So it's very, very expensive. It's the V12 something zoom name McLaren. And when I had it there and protected. And if you start it,
I'm sure it upset all the wildlife here in the on the estates.
Once the people knew I had it, they would come to the road and wait for me to come out
Just
with
to hear it and see it.
because I would just take it to the Curo school just to pick up Michael John. And that 5-6 kilos is enough to keep the car going.
Battery and everything.
It was very, very, very. Everybody wanted to see the car.
Yes, I can
But
imagine.
anyway, so I've had some other cars in between, but I'm not a car guy. I don't waste money.
Yes.
I'm very strict with money. I don't spend money on unnecessary things. I have clothes that I still have of 40 years ago. I have my shoes that I went to my matric last function.
Wow.
And it's there in my cupboard. I have clothes that's 20, 30 years old. So I'm very soft on shoes and clothes. And I just don't spend. I don't do that. But I don't mind spending on a good holiday and with my family. And I don't mind spending on animals. But otherwise, on myself, you won't find me easily spending on cars and
splurging out
luxuries.
that
I
way.
don't do that. And as I've said, I probably saved more money than most people on clothes, because I've got clothes here, my friend. I've got t-shirts here that I bought in Bangkok from my first trip to Bangkok. And they're still the same quality.
Beautiful.
And they're better than most t-shirts you buy here.
Yes.
So I'm very chuffed with that.
Lastly, favorite book or favorite movie which you feel everybody should engage and can get value out of?
What is also shocking, which I don't think people know, but I don't read. I read the Bible, that's it. I don't read. I think the last book I read was in matric, and it was a Shakespeare book.
Wow, I wouldn't have said
78, I think. I don't read. I don't like reading. I don't read magazines. I don't read the newspaper. I read from my phone, WhatsApps and so forth, but I would usually, if it's very, very important, would ask my guys what's it about, and if I'm interested, I would read it. But my cases I do read.
Okay.
So I read statements, and I think that's because I don't read, because I read enough.
You read enough.
Since I started, even in the bouncing industry, I started getting cases, and I would read a statement. And as I've said, I practice what I preach. I read a statement thoroughly, not
Yes.
once, twice, 3 times, and then I make notes. So I read all my cases, and I read my Bible, and I like the social media for that. I get a lot of Bible verses. I read them all, but I don't read. Movie, there are many. I'm a movie freak, but it must be brilliant. So the best series that I think I've ever seen was The Godfather.
Agree. Which one's your favorite? 2?
I actually like 3 as well. Many people always say, yeah, 1 and 2 is so good, 3 is bad. No.
You like them all?
It's all good. Yeah, I like them all. The Sopranos was just as good. Movie, I would say, most recently, it's that one of the octopus. That's on the nature side.
Yes.
I'm a nature watcher freak. But movie, what really comes to mind, I would say a movie that really stuck with me that I would always remember is Taking Chance. Taking Chance is about the process where respect is properly shown in this movie, that the American unit that deals with the dead, bringing them back to their country for burial, that process. And I think the actor was Kevin Bacon, and he brings a soldier back from Iraq that died, true story, and the whole process that this man that is from this unit follows. It's very, very well filmed, true story. and it is extremely well done, and it really touches you. Documentaries, I look, when I watch anything, the moment I see it's not good, I take it out. I don't finish something.
Don't waste your time.
I don't watch shit.
Good.
At all. So I don't watch futuristic stuff. I would maybe go, but I do enjoy it. Something like John Wick, which I know is totally unrealistic, but by the way, it is a form of an unrealistic, realistic series. I would watch that with my son.
Okay.
But it would not be a problem if I've never seen it. I never see any of that.
May I suggest a movie to you, sir? Perhaps you haven't seen it, and it's the new Top Gun. It is not, okay? No. Not, okay. I was like, wow.
That cliche shit of him, the old man in the bar, and they're not realizing it's him. All that, it's once again, it must be very unrealistic, realistic.
Yes.
It mustn't be that.
Okay.
I don't know what's the word for that. No, I don't watch that. But documentaries, I would say, the documentary's name is, I've never seen a better one, many close to it, is The Wonderful World of Error, or something about the world of error. It's about a Navy Marine captain that murders his family.
Wow.
But it is said that he didn't do it. But the errors of all the errors that was made, that you have these two legs, and how this whole thing unfolds. So you can only understand that series if you watch it, and then you will click what I've said here. But in short, it would mean, if me and you are with one person in a room and we leave and they later call both of us and say that person is dead, who would be the likely person to have committed the murder? It would be me, by most, because I have the ability, I have the know-how, and so forth.
Yes.
But some would also say, but listen, because you know this is a crime, because it's wrong, and you're an expert investigator, it's not you, it's you.
Gotcha.
So that series differentiates that very well.
Interesting. I'm going to find it and I'm going to watch it.
It's incredibly well done. So I have my own theater next door. That's my only hobby, and I watch the best of the best documentaries and only the best of the best movies, and that is my bit of entertainment, and I only do it weekends. I don't watch TV. I source. I have a person that sources what I like, and he gives it to me, and then I watch it.
They'll know what to present, not to waste your time.
They know. Yeah, he knows. Yeah,
he knows. Mr. Mike, I want to say thank you so much for being so kind to share your time with us. We're going to put all your details and links on the bottom.
I would suggest
video.
that the people go on our Facebook and read the projects. All you have to punch in is project, and then you can put in project sextortion. It explains everything of sextortion, or project missing persons, or project slander, or defamation, or project mentioning some examples. But the word project, if you put that in,
is the prefix to the article.
We also have apps. We have got a lot of things there that explains crime and explain crime cases. And if you just follow that, then you have it. Knocks and Scams is our biggest project. If they just read that, they will be aware.
So thank you very much. You have left us and everybody on this.
And we pray for everybody. We ask that God will absolutely
protect
this whole nation, give us wisdom, insight, might and power, strength and power and discernment, that He would give us all this, that we can discern, and then also be gracious and merciful upon us. Because once we have God in our lives, we actually really have the glasses on. We'll see clearly.
Yeah. Sir, you have left us better than you
Thanks.
found us. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.